welcome to part 3 of the Golden Age of Silver's Meet the Beast series, introducing you to one of the all-time classic medium format SLRs, the Mamiya RB67. If you got here by way of the blog, no, this isn't a format change, but I had it in mind to do one segment of the series as a video, so here it is. If you happen to stumble across this video, on the other hand, please don't kill yourself looking for parts 1 and 2. There are no videos for those. You can find them on the blog, however, at the URL shown on the screen. It may be archived by the time you're seeing this, so look back to March and April of 2015. Why the RB67? Well, consider this. For decades, the camera was known as the workhorse of the pros. The name was well deserved. These things were found in professional photography studios the world over because they were the core of one of the most practical and reliable systems available. With the advent of digital, with its instant results that can be sent anywhere in the world in a flash, photographers who can still compete with film-based cameras like the RB67 are rare indeed, meaning the market has been flooded with professional film equipment, and perhaps none more widely available than the RB67. It's been a little over 10 years since the RB67s could be reliably found new on dealer shelves, a basic system going for perhaps $2,000. Though these cameras are no less excellent and capable than they were in their heyday, simple supply and demand means that you can get one of these professional medium format cameras for about the same price as a good used amateur 35mm SLR would have cost you back in the 90s. If you're still into film photography at all, that's a temptation that's hard to resist. And unlike most temptations out there, there's no reason to. What I'm hoping to do today is give you a taste of what using the RB67 is like by going over a few of the everyday basic tasks needed to get the camera ready to shoot. This is by no means intended to be a comprehensive overview of the camera, and if you're asking, no, I don't intend to build towards that with future videos. If you need a full manual, at the end of the video I'll give you a link for that. But for now, let's get on with it. The RB67 is a system camera, so of course there are a good selection of lenses available, and in fact every now and then I still see lenses for the RB available still factory sealed from old dealer stock. If you're used to changing lenses on SLRs or DSLRs, changing lenses on the RB67 will be a little familiar, though it's not quite the same as attaching the typical bayonet lens used by most major camera systems. Instead, it uses what's called a bayonet ring, located on the rear of the lens where it couples to the camera body, shown here at the bottom of the image. Here we see there's an alignment mark on the ring that can be rotated to line up with a second one on the barrel of the lens. When these two dots are lined up with a third alignment mark on the camera body, the lens can be attached or removed. Rather than twisting the whole lens, as with most bayonet mounts, only the ring needs to be rotated. Let's see how that works, starting with the lens mounted to the body. To remove it, turn the ring until its alignment dot lines up with the other two. From here, the lens just comes off. As long as the two marks on the lens stay lined up, it will go right back on the body when a simple twist of the bayonet ring locks it back into place. Nothing more to it. Like many truly professional medium format SLRs, the RB67 features interchangeable film magazines, or film backs. Having more than one back lets you do fantastic things like switch from one film type to another mid-roll, or preload a second back so that when you get to the end of the roll with the first back, you can switch up and just keep shooting. Even if you don't have a second back, many people prefer to remove the back when they change film, so taking the back on and off is something you may be doing regularly anyway. To release the back from the camera, we need to disengage the two sliding locks, the one on top here, and the other is located on the bottom here. Slide both of these in the opposite direction indicated by the arrows, and that's it. For some people, it seems natural to want to slide the back off at this point, as I did when I started using the RB, so avoid this temptation. It really just comes straight off. Don't worry about fogging the film either, as there are safety locks to prevent you from removing the back unless the dark slide is in place. To reattach the back, we just need to do the reverse by putting it back into position until it more or less seats itself. Slide the locks in the direction of the arrows, and it's back on. Simple. Now that we know how to get the back on and off, let's look at how to load it. Now, since I didn't actually need to load a roll of film for this demonstration, I'm using an old spare back that needs new light seals and a 120 spool wound with backing paper instead of a real roll of film. So ignore the odd looking roll and the crumbly bits of foam falling everywhere. I'm starting here with the back removed. Now you could leave it attached to the camera if you prefer, but for me that's always seemed a bit awkward. To get into the back, pull down on this metal tab at the lower right. What opens up isn't a door so much as an enclosure that wraps around the core of the film magazine, and that can be set aside for now. Since here there's no exposed roll to be removed, we start by moving the empty spool over to become the new take-up spool. Notice the button on either side that lowers the retaining nub so you can get the spools in and out. Now it's time for our fresh roll. Load it into the left side so that it unrolls from down underneath. Pull the leader across the pressure plate, making sure the black side of the backing paper is showing, and over to the take-up spool. Thread it through the slot and into the spool and rotate it by hand until it's caught. From here you can use the advance lever to wind ahead until the arrows on the film line up with the start mark inside the film magazine. Now we're ready to put it all back together. Return the magazine core to the outer enclosure, close it back up and seal it closed with the metal tab we started with. It's not spring-loaded, so make sure you press it in all the way. From here, we can just wind the advance lever until it stops automatically on the first frame, and we're ready to go with a fresh roll of film. Now that the film magazine is back on the camera, it's time to look at what is arguably the defining feature of this camera, the revolving back. Purportedly, the RB in RB67 stands for revolving back. This feature allows you to switch from shooting with a horizontal orientation to shooting vertical by rotating just the back rather than the whole camera, which would be an extremely awkward proposition for the RB given its size and layout. Doing this couldn't be simpler. There are no catches to release, just grab hold of the film magazine and rotate. From the horizontal position, rotate it clockwise 90 degrees until you feel it fall into the notched vertical position. To go back to horizontal, just rotate it back. In the Pro S and the Pro SD models, there are automatic frame markers that move into place when it's set to the horizontal position, just so you don't forget which way to frame the shot. Well, I hope that gives you a flavor of what it's like to use the RB67, as well as a bit of working knowledge. If you need a complete manual for this or other classic film cameras, I recommend you visit Mike Buckus' site at the URL shown on the screen. Manuals are free to download, but if you find them useful, please consider using the donate link on the site to help support Mike in his efforts. It costs money to obtain these manuals and to maintain the site, and he doesn't demand anything in return. And that's it for this episode. If you have thoughts or suggestions, please visit the blog site if you're not already there, TheGoldenAgeOfSilver, all one word, .blogspot.ca, and leave a comment. Thanks for checking it out.